Alright, welcome to the channel. We are going to be doing a quick market update, doing a look, high time frame Bitcoin, and possibly some news here. This is going to be a more regular feature of the channel going forward, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the alert button too so you can be alerted when we do all of our live streams. I live stream, and then I also live stream with a number of other crypto Twitter and YouTube people. So if you want to see when we are getting on, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification button as well, so you can get the notification when we're going live or when we're posting new content. All right, let's take a look here. I have a weekly and a daily chart pulled up. This is going to be a more regular feature of the channel going forward. We've been doing mostly live streams so far. All right, I look forward to having these videos and sharing some of my outlooks with you. I'm going to start on a high time frame here, the monthly. Just going to zoom out on that. And I'm going to look at this on more than one exchange just to give you an idea, but we'll start with BitMEX because it is one of the most popular and the highest volume exchanges out there. Even though it is primarily futures, it is physically settled. So, all right. Now, I'm just going to put some horizontals here. I'll use different colors just to make it easy to tell later on. And that's just the monthly open and the monthly close there. That's kind of defined a lot of the range that we've been in recently, but not all of it. I have this set up so you can see over here it's also printing on the weekly. Now we've got the weekly chart pulled up. This was the high, but this one closed just a little bit higher, so I'm going to use that for some of my analysis here. Got all this stuff going on. This is definitely our range low, I would say, that we've been in, and the weekly better defines the range for sure. We've been in this range now for what, 8 weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess you could say 9 weeks technically. I would start the range here. So we've been in this range for about 8 weeks. A break of this range in either direction on a closing basis is going to be a huge deal, certainly. And everybody is watching. Maybe less people are watching the horizontal, but everybody is watching the larger flag or triangle or whatever, symmetrical triangle, however you want to draw it, that is playing out. Because everybody's aware of that and more people tend to pay attention to those patterns, I would expect just a little bit more nonsense around the breakout points of that pattern than the horizontal. The weekly MACD here, still in the green, still hasn't crossed. You know, not super bullish if it does, but it's something to pay attention to. It's a very slow moving indicator on this time frame, as you can see. I mean, that defines all the movement there from the time that we broke the lows and started to move up. Now, some people will tell you that this double top here on the weekly indicator, where it has been technically ranging potentially sideways or in a downtrend sense, they'll call that divergence. It's not technically divergence. It's not as reliable of an indicator, I would say. And of course, as you can see, we did come back up. And remember, this indicator, the MACD and most indicators that you'll be using, they do draw themselves on a candle close, not on the wicks. So it's just something to remember when you're looking at your analysis. All right, so we've got the weekly levels drawn there. I'm gonna add one more weekly level just because this was the previous weekly close just recently, and that's been kind of a mid-range, kind of an important level so far, so I just want to make sure we're paying attention to that. Alright, go down to the daily level. Alright, what is this little fucker doing? Let's see. So, I had been bearish up here, and I was talking and posting about that on Twitter and in Discord. And I did re-enter a partial position down here, and I was bearish again approaching these EMA lines. Unfortunately for me, the close above those and then the second daily close above those and above the monthly level, as you can see here, that's that previous monthly open right there, or sorry, 2 months ago close and last month open, that's that level. So both of those daily candles closing above that definitely tricked me. I closed out of my shorts, covered shorts, and just went into an unleveraged long position essentially. So just holding my Bitcoin at that point. And this candle, as you can see, you know, just destroyed everything. Dropped down very quickly. I was sleeping during the initial part of that, so I was unable to catch the move. So about 50% of my position stopped out into cash, which I am still holding at this time. And honestly, based on everything, just visually, just based on everything I'm seeing here, I am looking for Bitcoin to bounce a little bit here. Definitely up to the weekly level, possibly a little bit higher than that. But I am looking to sell at those levels and, you know, put more of my position into cash essentially. This looks like it's going to continue down. It does not look bullish to me here. The daily close above last month close, definitely nice. And I do believe that it's going to bounce short term, but I don't think we're going to get back above this 11K test essentially up here. And I would be watching those EMA lines. They have flipped bearish, and they are in a downtrend now, which price action seems to be confirming with that lower high right there. A breach of that high would invalidate this idea, certainly. So I would be paying a lot of attention to that 11K level again. It's really like 10.96 on BitMEX, but 11K is the important number there, certainly. So yeah, it does look like it's bouncing. I think when we look at some lower time frames here, yeah, definitely. Short term does seem to have flipped a little bit bullish here, so I would be expecting it to come up and hit definitely this level at the 10.25, but I am looking for it to go a little bit higher to that weekly level potentially, and that's where I'm going to be looking to exit a majority of my remaining position at that point. Yeah, so we could have a green candle today, certainly. I think it's likely, but I doubt that that candle will go above the 0.5 from this previous day. That 0.5 is just about, I can zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about, the Fibonacci level. So just taking yesterday's candle here, the full candle in mind, that 0.5 Fibonacci level is right around that weekly level. So that's definitely an area where a lot of people are going to be looking to short. So just good to keep in mind. Like I said, it is an area that I am looking to move into cash or short. And then this level here, the daily level, is the one to watch. price action above that certainly invalidates any sort of bearish setups in this area. And I would even go so far as to just use the EMA. This part of the EMA is not actually real yet because it's going to be based on this daily candle close. So the EMAs are really here between about 10.69 and 10.62. So that mid 10,200 area is definitely a must-hold resistance area for the bears. But, you know, Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, so it can bounce up in there and bounce a little bit higher just to trap people like it did over here. And even though I was bearish and was shorting, I covered before that big drop. So unfortunately, I did not manage to profit off that drop. All right, so that's pretty much the daily setup that I'm looking at. Let's just talk about, though, where it could go. So, and let's draw this thing that everybody's talking about real quick, just so you can have a good idea. You can use the wicks, draw it like this, or you can use the close, draw it like that. Either way, you get these downtrend resistance lines that price has been respecting. And I know I'm getting a lot of lines here, so just bear with me for a moment. This is kind of where people have been drawing it. You could use this line, you could use this one, you know, whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's some sort of triangle. It's either a symmetrical triangle, or if you want to draw it, you know, down here, still kind of a symmetrical triangle. If you want to just do it from this point, still technically symmetrical, potentially descending, whatever. I don't really trade triangles much. I'll watch them because other people watch them. And this downtrend I was definitely watching because price did seem to be respecting it. You know, I don't think we're going to come back up and test that again anytime soon. If we do, the bearish setup is invalid and price is likely to continue back to the highs here. So let's check this out. Now, potential areas of interest if price does start to drop. Let's go back up to our high time frames here. You know, there's not really a lot to go on that monthly, except for this previous area at 77 there. That's interesting, but I think there are some more interesting areas, actually. This previous high is definitely an interesting area from back in 2018, and it sits right in the middle of this order block here, weekly, huge area. Definitely some high volume area there in the middle, from there, and of course from the most recent move up here too. The high volume area is kind of down by the lows, so that has a lot of likelihood of at least price trying to get back to that level. All right, but let's just draw, since this is a weekly, I'm just going to use that same color. So that's a weekly level there to pay a lot of attention to. This, I think, is the most likely area for price to come back to when it starts to go down. We are technically in a bullish trend on the weekly, both according to price action and according to the EMAs. So these are bullish EMAs. Obviously, we've come down and tested them a couple times. This was a pretty decent buying opportunity here at 9.7 when it hit. And really the weekly level would have been based on the previous, so it would have been about 9.65. And that would have been a great spot to buy there last week for this bounce that happened this week. You know, selling up at that monthly level even at 10.78 would have been a fantastic trade. All right, so the 8.7 level where we had this doji candle and then a down week before a strong reversal. That is another really interesting area to look for. It's not as high volume as some of those lower areas in that OB for the weekly, but it definitely has higher volume than the surrounding areas there, you can see. So this is a very likely point as well for price to come down to, and that's right in the value level on the weekly EMAs. We have this higher low here, higher low on the weekly, higher low on the weekly. We still have not broken that structure. You could argue that this was a higher low up here, and then we broke it when we came down here. But this is the true higher low because it is still higher than the previous low on a down candle there. This candle was a higher low still. This one is undecided as it's still being created. I do think we're going to get a bounce today. This is Thursday, so we still have 3 more days for that candle to close. And I expect that candle to close down here somewhere. Possibly we could even get that test very soon if the market turns bearish quickly. But and granted, you know, bearish movements tend to happen faster than bullish movements do to a great extent, time-wise. But I feel like we could still bounce around here for a little bit, just let those EMAs flatten a little bit more before we come down for that test of the low 8,000 levels. I've seen some people calling for the low in the 7,500 or 7,700 area, and while that is entirely possible, we could even have, you know, a drop down right there below here just to really mess with people, stop out all those longs. That is a less likely scenario, so I'm not banking on it. I am banking on this test of the middle, well, certainly the high of that order block, but definitely I would like to see the middle of this tested, and that could just be a wick, you know, down below the EMA. But keep in mind the actual weekly EMA is at about 84 right now, so it's a very likely area for price to test if it does come down here. Moving a little bit lower here to the daily again, I use these envelopes for price targets, this little line along here, and it's an envelope that is printed for me automatically, an auto envelope based on these daily EMAs that I'm using. And these are pretty standard EMAs, the 1326 EMA. They're used through all markets. I use them in multiple markets on multiple time frames, and they're very reliable over long periods of time. So the envelope here is at that 84.37 level for yesterday. And I always use the previous day's envelope as the actual target for a movement. So a down movement for me right now has a target of about 84, which lines up with that weekly. And that actual weekly level is just a little bit lower at 82.4 here. So, you know, we can, and when moves happen to the envelopes, I mean, look at this. It wicks out of it regularly, especially if it's a strong move, it can continue. But that's going to be the first area of interest where I'm looking to reopen my position and exit my cash position down in those levels. I will want to see, you know, some good reversal signals. I don't think we're going to enter a long-term bearish market again yet, because the weekly is still, like I said, technically in a bullish trend. We've just been consolidating and bouncing around here in this weekly channel between 11.56 and what I would say 9.5 basically. You know, really nice channel there to play with. And I think we can potentially continue to play with it, although the channel is starting to get a little bit tired. It's 8 weeks old now. The next channel test is likely to try and scare channel traders out of their positions. So that's what I'm thinking. We just see a bigger move down here, possibly even breaking those wick lows there from a few weeks ago at 9,000. And that's what a lot of people are looking for. But again, you know, you got to trick people first. So we have moves like this that trick people into changing their mind, like myself. So I feel like we could have, you know, some more moves around here, maybe even a retest of this at some point before we really get going down. But again, that's unlikely, so I'm not expecting it. I am expecting this weekly level at 10.3 to hit before we move down. Now, let's just talk. I gave you some invalidation levels. Let's talk a little bit about if it does move up, and I'm just going to move over to this chart so that we can see if the bearish ideas do invalidate. If this is the low and we're only getting a test of the 13 EMA on the weekly, we're not going to get the test of the 26 EMA on the weekly, or the test of this previous price action area here, the down candle on the weekly, closing basis at 76.37 on MEX or thereabouts. If we don't get that move, if the bearish setup is invalidated for now, we need to punch through this previous daily over here at the 1100, and once we do, we will certainly test that channel high again. I would expect us even to break up and test again these highs near 1400 or maybe 1300 there, if it's not a true bullish move long term, and if it's just to shake everybody out before a larger move down and then a new direction is chosen. That is entirely possible. You know, I hear a lot of people calling for 1700 and 1600 and stuff, and I guess that's just based on this previous weekly up here. Look though at the monthly for a minute. The monthly from last year is right at where we got that wick 2 months ago, up to about 1400. So that 1400 level, really important on a monthly. If we get a monthly close above that level, then yeah, I mean, that's a huge deal. This candle here, this monthly candle, is potentially a bullish candle, but it's more of a neutral. It can go either way. What's more important is the next monthly close. So if the next monthly close is above the previous monthly open, that's bullish, certainly. If it does close down here, though, it's neutral. Could be, you know, that they held it, it's a doji, and it's going to go up the next month. But if it closes below that monthly level, then yeah, I mean, we can see that larger move down to the low 8,000 levels, certainly. It's just something to pay attention to. We're kind of right here below that previous monthly right there. But this is that high, so we're talking about the move up. Now, if we go down to the weekly, that close is much higher. We've got, you know, some of these targets that people are talking about in the 1600 range and stuff, or talking about as like measured move targets and things like that. You know, I just don't use that information myself very much. So it's up to you if you want to pay attention to it. That's more classical charting. Now, you can see this is not a new weekly level. If you go all the way back here to February, we were closing at that same level. We had an OB there, it came up. We had some bearish tests of it and then continued to close inside or below that level. And that's basically what we've done. We've never closed above that level. So that's that same, that 11.55-ish area, 11.54. You know, there's this candle that closed below and then this one that closed just a little bit higher there. So it's all in that range though, essentially. It's that range. We need to close above that for the bulls to really have a narrative that we're going to, you know, previous highs or new highs. I'm not super interested in that narrative as long as price continues to close weekly below 11.5. You know, I'm going to continue to feel a little bit more bearish and just be looking for short-term trades, or, you know, entries at the weekly value levels. Those interest me, and that's the EMAs that I'm talking about there. So those previous levels that I mentioned. All right, that's a lot of what I'm looking at. I would expect to see this move, you know, start to pick up steam soon if it is the down move, just because we've had more confirmation on that recently. Just going to move back to the daily there, take a look again, just so you have that hold up. You need that weekly for comparison next to it. And just to test this theory real quick, let's move to another exchange. We'll just say we'll do Bitstamp, for example, and we can quickly draw those same levels. They're pretty much the same across all exchanges right now, it looks like. So we've got that, and I've just got my magnet on, so these are quickly drawing for me. We go down to the weekly, same idea. Let's check this out. Same thing, we close there. Oops. Close there. And we got that closed there. So same sort of things going on. All these levels line up across multiple exchanges here. 10.5, 11.54, yeah, they're all pretty much the same. So we can pay attention to any of them right now for some of this information. Cool. I can do one more test just to make sure. Let's see. Let's take a look, actually. I know the Americans are pretty much forced to use this now, and a lot of people use this. So, same idea here on Coinbase. Let's just take a look. Yep, same monthly levels there. And this just gives you an idea of what I'm looking at, how I draw it, you know, where I put it on the chart. Cool. Oh yeah, let's change the color of that one. You know what the fuck's going on here. Alright, let's just check those. Yeah, 11.54. Yep, these levels are all essentially the same. Check the EMA levels for yesterday. Yep, pretty much the same. Same idea. Yep, right in the middle there. Yeah, so we're looking at the same information pretty much across every chart. It's nice because I still have the BitMEX chart over here, so you can look as I'm moving my cursor around, these things are lining up with each other. You know, these lines are all at essentially the same spots on both of those charts. That's always nice. Lots of confluence there. I'd say the one thing the bulls have going for them is just the value level on the 3-day, but the current 3-day candle looks really, really ugly. This needs to close above, and it does close tonight, this 3-day candle. But it's increasing bearish momentum here on the MACD, and it's closing down below the previous open and close on 6 days there, and below the weekly level. So it's a pretty ugly, pretty bearish candle. Yeah, don't love it. Don't love it at all. That does tend to make me believe we will see that continued down movement. But you can see the upper EMA, if we do close like right down around here or even around here, it's likely that we just bounce up a little bit into this area before we continue moving down. So that's what I'm looking at. Again, it's pretty much that same level as the daily level on the 3-day, that 11K test. That is the invalidation point for a bearish setup. If we get back above that level, bearish narrative is gone. It's done for now. So that's a super important level to watch for the bears. bulls need to reclaim it, and it doesn't look like they have it in them to do it to me at the moment. So I'm still feeling pretty bearish on BTC. The thing is, if we're bearish on BTC right now, altcoins have been following it down for the most part, especially in their USD pair. So even though the altcoins are moving up against BTC, you still make more money shorting or being in cash until the altcoin USD charts enter bullish momentum. If you don't care about your USD value, I mean, that's dumb, but then you can trade just off the BTC chart, but overall you're still ending up with less USD, Euro, pounds, whatever it is that you're trading, than if you had just gone into cash. Something to keep in mind. All right, cool. That is Bitcoin. Those are my thoughts. I'll show you what I mean with what I just said here with XRP, for example. XRP is just kind of consolidating, and it's had some up days versus BTC, but that whole time it has been consistently dropping down in USD value. I am looking for this to reverse soon, and there is divergence, real divergence on the daily right here, so long as the USD value does not close below 0.26. This is a bullish setup on USD to me, so I am expecting that to decouple. The main thing that has decoupled from BTC right now is ETC. It had these big moves up the last couple days here. Beautiful on both pairs, the USD and the BTC pair. So I would expect these lows to hold now. The EMAs on the daily are flipping bullish on both. So this is one I'm going to start paying attention to again. I had previously traded this back here, buying here and selling up here. Actually, no, it was higher, it was up here. And then buying again down here and selling up here at, where was that? Oh, it was like 9.5. Geez, almost sold the top. Shit. Yeah, it was 9.5 were most of my sells. So haven't been watching it just because it was changing into a downtrend and had some divergence that I had paid attention to up there. But this has become interesting to me again finally. So I'm going to be watching for a pullback to buy, possibly around the 6.37 level there at that previous high. Maybe a little bit lower if I get it. All right, that's the market today. That's what I'm thinking. Just to reiterate, with Bitcoin, I do expect it to bounce up today. I think the lows are in. I think we got some divergence on low time frames here, but it's just a bounce. I do expect it to continue down afterwards. There's some argument that maybe even it won't bounce as high as I want it to, and that's fine. Shit happens. But this is an hourly chart. It shows divergence here. And then this is a 30-minute chart, and it kind of shows some divergence. It's a messy divergence though, so not as reliable, but it's definitely there, especially in the force and momentum here and in here. The one thing I don't love though is that the OBV did break down significantly over here, and it is lower than this entire area over here. That needs to be reclaimed certainly for bulls, and I doubt it will be. I think we should watch for a high in the OBV around there or there, 8.8 to 8.6 area. All right, well, get out there, make some money, don't lose it all, don't be a fucking idiot. Enjoy your Thursday, people. I'll be back. I'll be doing more of these videos. Please hit that subscribe button. It just helps me to know that, this is something that you actually want to see and that I should keep doing and spend my time doing. Otherwise, I'll just be trading instead. Yeah, and keep an eye out for more live streams and stuff like that. Me and Nick and the Hash Rate guys, of course, are always doing some great stuff. Check them out if you haven't already. Nick Core on YouTube, and a bunch of other great people out there. Yeah, I enjoy Bagsy, of course. He's always fun. And sometimes I'll watch John John C. I'm not a big Elliott Wave guy myself, but it's always interesting to see what other people are doing. Yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Get out there. Have some fun, guys.